lead teacher. And like you think about the challenges that you're in
Well, actually,
a
we're
5-year-old
we got a
classroom,
surplus on
maybe in your
budget.
first year, like, just the like things that he's like,
But your
behaviorally it's
comments were
probably
appreciated.
like a little bit delayed. Academically, it's like ahead and like reading, and it's like she's like, I don't know what to do with him because he acts like a 3-year-old sometimes,
We have
and he
that on this agenda.
talks to me, and I almost feel like I'm speaking to an adult. Yeah, yeah, and so she's like, it doesn't. Oh, there's
Yes, it has.
Good afternoon. This afternoon. Oh, sorry. Still good morning. Good morning. And welcome to the May 6, 2026 informal meeting of the Savannah-Chatham County Board of Education. This is an information meeting only. We do not take any votes during this meeting. And for our board member minute, I would just like to introduce everyone to our new board member. And that's Mary Snowden. Mary Snowden. So, our first thing on our agenda today, charter school annual reports. Did you guys like draw straws to see who goes first? Is it?
Cage match.
Cage match. Okay, first we have Savannah Classical. No? Hang on. Yes? Okay, right.
You going alpha, you got Coastal.
Okay.
Hello, good morning. Morning. Let me pull it up here for you. Okay, so I'm coming in on my presentation on the heels of you reviewing the internal document the school system prepared for the charter school. So I'm assuming you've looked at those. I can talk about those if you like, but I'm just going to go through a few things that are behind those metrics. And starting on our beginning slide here, you can see those students are running to the finish line, and we are running to the finish line, all of us here, closing out the school year. But within my presentation, you'll see various photos, and those are just kind of to capture some of the school life at Savannah Classical. We're just not all sitting in classrooms and pontificating and, imparting knowledge and listening to teachers lead and students doing work and things. We also do a lot of fun things with our students outside of class that makes our student life very enjoyable. So the big photo you see there, and then I'll move quickly. I know you have a long day. Once a year, we do what we call house giving, and we take the whole school, pre-K through 12, to an off-site field trip, and we have games and activities. They're wearing different color shirts for houses they're in, kind of like Hogwarts. And they participate, and we have a traditional Thanksgiving meal while we're off campus, and we call it Housegiving. And it's a hallmark event that we think is something our students greatly enjoy all the way from pre-K. They take naps while they're out there, and it's a good event. And if I could bottle that day up and show it to folks, it's what school's about. It's great school culture. It's kids working together at all grade bands. It's students having fun within the school day, and it's teachers enjoying the company and fellowship of students. And it's a really great day. So next year, I'm going to invite you to come, and I hope you visit.
Can I ask where it's held?
It was at Ottawa Farms the last 2 years,
Okay.
But we're getting too big for Ottawa Farms, and so we're looking at another site that's a little farther away. All right, so just recently we've gotten some recognition for the State Charter Schools Commission has given out a list of schools that, and they're rating charter schools. So Savannah Classical is rated as an exceeding standards school. Recently, along with other district schools, Savannah Classical was recognized again as a literacy and math leader school. And these are live links, so if you want to click those, and I can click into them if you'd like for me to, that explains those awards or designations. Then we have also been named as a Title I Distinguished School for the second year in a row. So academically, by a few measures listed here, we're doing pretty well. One slide, one data, this is the only data slide I have in here. The other is a link, and you can click on it if you'd like to, is this one. It's important. Everyone talks about it. It's very relevant to the district work. It's relevant to our work. It's relevant to everybody in the country's work. And that's our reading levels of how our students are doing at Savannah Classical Academy. And you can see starting in third grade when we start measuring that all the way through high school, our students are performing at pretty high levels consistently, and we like that. We're not perfect, but we're always going to strive to improve and do the best we can. And then you can see some of our little explorers over on the right who visited the zoo, and then some of our students that are visiting in New York. So they all have good times and learn a lot when they're on those trips. Then within here, this slide is just how we compare to the county. That's part of our charter requirements, and then how we compare to the state of Georgia across our GMAS assessments starting in third grade all the way through. If you click on that link, you'll see that Savannah Classical is doing well. We're exceeding those two comparison groups, and there are areas that we can improve, and there's areas that we have shown some improvement. And overall, if you look at the trajectory of our students' academic performance, the longer they're enrolled with Savannah Classical Academy, typically the greater their academic outcomes, and we like to see that. And so that's what that data trend is showing us. And then CCRPI is still around, but we'll talk about it. So if you look at content mastery, this one kind of sums up where our school ranks. Our middle school ranks second of all district schools on student achievement. The high school ranks fourth of all district schools, no matter the grade band. Elementary ranks sixth. And then within the grade bands, the elementary school ranks second of 34. One school beat us by 1 point. And then middle school ranks first of 22, and the high school ranks second of 13. So our schools are ranking pretty well. That's great. You'll see our seniors in the top right corner. They're visiting the Coliseum. And then locally, the Mountain Film Festival, our students were there. So these are all photos except for the senior photos from all this school year. These are all relevant student activities. Then student life. I have one video I'm going to show you, but there's some embedded in here. Please take the time to watch these if you haven't. I'm only going to click on one. But part of being a Savannah Classical Academy student is the experiences we do within the classroom, with outside the classroom, and then things students do on their own with developing leadership skills and requirements they have to do with volunteerism and service learning projects. On the right-hand side, you will see these are our hallmark events or trips that students will take, and every grade level, they're the same. And starting in 5th grade is when we start our overnight trips, and that's the Kennedy Space Center. And sometimes parents want to go. I think I mentioned this before, and we say, parents, you can't go. You've got to cut the apron strings. Sometimes we've had parents shadow us when we go to Jacksonville, and the teachers can see the grandparents or the parents in the background, but they don't interfere with the trip. But we're learning to. So by the time that they start going to these overnight trips, Kennedy Space Center in New England, Atlanta, New York, so forth, parents have gotten really comfortable with their children traveling with us. And then our 12th grade trip, the senior trip, is the big one where we go to Europe for 9 to 10 nights, depending on the year and what our activities are. But they're always the same countries, and the highlights of those is we will go into D-Day landing site, Normandy, we'll go into London, we will go to Paris, and we go to Florence, see some sites there, and then we close out in Rome, and then we come home. So I'm going to click this one video. I hope it works. But this is a recent event. This is our first event that we did. It's the Knowledge and Noodles Night. So you come in and show you off your knowledge, and we'll give you noodles for dinner. I don't have control.
That all of the children are able to play. We're here for the Knowledge and Noodles Night, and we're here to see all of the students' science exhibits, learning about different things, and all of the interactive exhibits that all of the children are able to play with and interact and learn a little bit more about science and the things around them.
It's been a way that I've been able to kind of get my son to see, okay, this is how all of these things that you're learning through math and science, this is how they come together. This is how they culminate. This is
is a different kind of performance. This is knowledge. This is showing what they've learned. It's just very unique. It's really unique to Savannah Classical how they really put the focus on a well-rounded education.
Okay, so the little story behind that event, came together. We were trying to do things that would incorporate families as well as students at all grade levels and get them on our campus and just see what student life is about, have their child tell them about student life. And that video, that event was made possible through one of our partners with Gulfstream. They provide funding for some technology STEM activities. And so we are thankful for Gulfstream and their partnership for allowing us to do that. And they were a great contributor to us being able to do that. So I want to publicly thank them. And then the other events are just different things we have at the school and some advertisements we have on how we are recruiting students and what parents are having to say with testimonials. And again, if you could bottle up these activities and just feel the energy of that when you come around, you really get a good sense of what the school life is like. And I encourage you to come to those events anytime you wish. Operations, what are we working on? Well, we completed our audit. We have no issues with our audit. We had one area that we had a claim error. It's under the $800 threshold. We claimed $231. We have a school food, it's a vendor, basically, that provides our meal services, and the paperwork wasn't aligning with the claim, so we've corrected that, and they have to make sure that the claims are corrected, are matching what they're reporting to us on an invoice. And so we've corrected that. We've gotten over our audit with that. There's two audits we have to do. We have to do an audit for Savannah Classical, the school, and then we have to do a separate audit for the school nutrition program because it's a separate federal program. Our FY26 expenditures are within our budget. We're expecting a small surplus this school year. We have some things that we want to do with that surplus. In our last board meeting, we talked about doing some expenditures for some operational improvements and some campus improvements, and we're going to use that money that we're not expecting to have due to our staying within our budget. A student enrollment, FTE count 504, March 483. Our average daily attendance is well above 95% in both of our grade bands, the high school and the K-8. Our projected enrollment is 597 for next school year. We're going to try to go over the 600, but that's our projected. We're going to try to be over 600 next year. Human resources, we're Georgia Lee's pilot school. Our teachers are on track to complete that by the end of the school year. Governance, all of our members have completed their required training. We have a 5-year strategic plan that has been updated as an FY26 to FY30 document. So it's on our website. Anyone can see it if they want to go look at that. And then we are trying to stay ahead of, it's a big one, is AI and what's happening with AI and instruction and how that can be used. I will use this example I've used with teachers. When the scientific calculator came around, the mathematicians thought everybody was going to be dumb and couldn't do math. They couldn't add and subtract. So we are taking that approach. AI is just another tool. We just have to become educated how to use that and how to instruct students how to use that properly with ethics and parameters. And so all of our students have gone through ProTech training, and that's a free training offered by the state of Georgia. And that's from elementary grades all the way through high school. All of our teachers have gone through that training, and we're continuing that process as well. We are also looking at being a pilot. I'll go back to school nutrition. We've talked about we are changing, we are putting out, let me say this correctly, we are putting out an RFP to change our on-site vendor that provides our school meal service. And so we have been talking with vendors, and that official RFP will go out on the 7th. It's been approved by the state this week, final approval. It'll go out on the 7th, and then we're going to submit out to other vendors to provide services for us for our school nutrition program. The requirements for those, and the current one, is they have to operate within our claims. With very little, we do not want to operate in the red. We do not want to operate and make a profit off school nutrition. That's not a profit-seeking department for us. We don't mind if we go in the red a little bit because we want a high-quality meal service, but the RFP is for them to work within parameters. And we've given them a menu, a 21-day cycle that's part of the RFP. And our meal service is something that we tout pretty heavily. So we have brisket, salmon, mahi-mahi, all kinds of things that we have on there that's a little different than a typical cafeteria service. And so we're putting that out there to do that. We have had some initial conversations with Dr. Watts and some of her staff about their thinking about talking to vendors too. I'm sure you're in the loop on that. But we will certainly lend any support, help, whatever we can do with the district once we finish our RFP. And if you have any questions, Ms. Davison has already talked to us about it, and I'm thankful for that. Very helpful. She helped spark some questions we had with a vendor that we weren't thinking about, so that was great. Our summer sessions coming up after we close out the school year. We have an enrichment program for students or support, depending on what they need. It will be 6 weeks. Pre-K and kindergarten camp, that's a 1-week camp, and that kind of breaks the first day jitters. Parents can't walk them to class. Students have to come on their own, and it's not so scary when you've been at school and you've experienced what it's like and you've met your teachers. So that's a really good, fun week. You can welcome to stop by. I can send these dates to you as well. Savannah Classical is hosting for the first time. You know that principals send people to professional development sessions all over the country, sometimes internationally, for professional development. And if you've ever been to one, you can go to a session and say, that was great, that's wonderful, I can use that tomorrow in my class or at my school or whatever. Then you go to other sessions, you're like, I'm not so sure about that. So we said, let's don't do that. So what we've done is Savannah Classical, we're doing our own summer professional development week in Greenville, South Carolina. We've hired our own speakers to come in that's tailored specifically for our teachers. All of our teachers are going to the professional development across the week. They will be there from 2 to 3 days, and it's work sessions tailored to the content they teach with professionals to help them get ready for the fall. So we're anxious to see how that's going to work, and our teachers are excited about going to it. And that is a professional development session that I think is going to be very worthwhile and probably something we will continue. And the district professional development staff has helped us with our funding that we received from Title II with that, and how we go through that and make sure we're utilizing those funds to the best ability we can. And then just recently, we have been talking with an agency about doing a kindergarten readiness assessment pilot consideration. We're talking with them. We have some initial conversations of crosswalking their assessment to the standards for kindergarten and the GKIDS assessment and making sure that crosswalk is valid. We don't want to give another assessment just to give one. And we don't want to redo work, and we don't want to do work that's not held accountable, that's for things that students aren't being held accountable to in the classroom. So we're talking through that pilot. They are also seeking to be an approved vendor by the state for the new legislation that requires a kindergarten readiness assessment. So we're working with them through a pilot to help them get ready for that. Just this week, we were advised we're one of I think 50 schools in the first round that have been funded through the Leader in Me program through the state of Georgia. It was a new legislative funding. And this is pre-K through 12. It's a leadership program from Franklin Covey that helps develop leadership skills all the way down to pre-K. This is one of the areas our parents asked for. They asked for us to help develop leadership skills as part of our strategic planning. We are changing from a academic/therapeutic counselor for upper grades to a dedicated college career counselor to help the students transition if they're going on to studies, if they're going to work, military. We're growing a little bit more, and we're having more programs and opportunity. We need a little bit more expertise in making sure we're giving good advice and helping students shape those opportunities and their choices, and making sure they have plenty of choices and they leave not just one. We want them to be prepared for whatever they want to do when they leave us. Still have therapeutic counselor on site. We do still have therapeutic counseling. I've already talked about the RFP for the school nutrition program. We are partnering with 2 partner institutions. I don't want to let them out right now, but they're post-secondary partner institutions to help us with some programming we're going to do within our school, as well as some professional development with our teachers, and then some support directly to students on things that can happen to them, primarily in some of that for middle and high school students. So some exciting work that we hope to develop over the summer, but those are things that are going to be taking some time over the summer to develop. And then we are looking again to expand more experiences for our students at every grade band and looking for partnerships with different agencies within the community. We have a service learning project every month where our students are doing something to support some nonprofit within the community. And last slide, just some photos. On the left-hand side, that's our prom. Our prom court had to learn how to box dance. And I saved that video. I won't show it to you, but it was really nice to see them practicing in the gym and then see them actually do the box dance during the prom. At our prom, students had to vote who prom king and queen was. And if you wanted to be on the prom court, you had to learn to do the box dance. And they did. It was great. And I'll be happy to share that to you. It was a great event. Then we have Science Olympiad up at the top. That's at Oakland Island. And Science Olympiad is huge for us. We have to have Science Olympiad tryout cuts because we have so many students that want to be in Science Olympiad. And then there's our fifth graders at NASA, the Space Center this year. And then we have students that are traveling to D.C. and they're seeing things and hoping it's having an impactful moment on their life, as well as the things we do in the classroom. So I talk quickly, but I'll answer any questions you may have.
Okay. I'm going to start with you today, Dr. Howard Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Moss. But first of all, I'm very impressed with your success in your third grade reading scores, the achievement that you've made. I actually have two questions. Could you please share with us the specific strategies and pedagogical approaches that you implemented with your pre-K, kindergarten, and first grade and second grade students to cultivate their literacy development? Now, you did touch on the pilot that you have, the kindergarten readiness assessment pilot. And then the next question would be, what specific programs and methodologies are in place to close the achievement gap for your elementary grade span?
So we have what we call it curated. So we've curated a list of vendor-specific materials that are aligned with content standards, and for literacy, they have to be on the approved list. So the ones we selected was Elevate and then Memorial Press, and those were actually selected by us before the state of Georgia selected them as part of their literacy program. So we're teaching phonics for sure, and we use Memorial Press for that to teach our phonics program. That's what's guiding us, and that's what's helping us with our literacy. And we've always taught with phonics, and we have not always used the same phonics program. We've used the Riggs program. We used a different one I can't remember. And the last one, the current one, the one we've been using for the last few years, is Memorial Press. And it is the most robust program that we've found with giving teacher materials and giving support to teachers so they know how to use and teaching in phonics in that way. And then we did a pilot program again this year. The name's escaping me. I don't know why. Mr. Roney is here. He's been working with the district, I think, on that as well with us in the pilot program. And that's one of the things that some students are getting one-on-one tutoring that we've identified that could maybe benefit from that. We also do what we call Spartan Hour within the school day. So students that need support go to Spartan Hour during the school day, and we support them that way. If you're rocking along academically where you need to be, then you go to some sort of enrichment you get to select from. You could go work with a culinary arts teacher or your favorite science teacher or whatever that may be. And then instructionally in the classroom, we have very limited use of technologies, particularly in those early grades. We do not deploy devices one-to-one. Those are used on an as-needed basis. The teacher is the leader in the classroom and the developer of the lessons in the classroom. Teachers do have to do the lessons, but I will tell you probably the best professional development that we do that helps guide teachers' instruction is we bring in the University System of Georgia and we train teachers how to build assessment blueprints, not assessments. We train them how to build an assessment blueprint that says, this is what I want the children to know based off my pacing. The teacher decides the pacing of the content. This is what I want them to know. This is the level of rigor I want them to know. This is the amount of items I want on this particular standard. Once they build that blueprint, we don't look at lesson plans because a teacher that knows what their assessment blueprint is based on what they're saying they're going to teach, why would I need to look at their lesson plans? Because they're going to develop a lesson plan to support what they want their children to know based off their content. And the University of Georgia comes in and trains our teachers every year. So it's a refresher for our returning staff, and it's new training for our new teachers. And so that that is one of the best things we do. And that's in kindergarten all the way through high school, not just in state tested subjects, all subjects.
Thank you and good job.
Mr. Smith? I'm sorry, Dr. Brigham, did you have anything? Okay. Mr. Smith?
Thank you for your presentation. I have one quick question. Your presentation shows enrollment dropping from 504 to 483 during the year, while projected enrollment rises to 597 next year. My question to you is, what factors do you think contributed to the decline, but also how do you expect to achieve the 597 for all of us?
So we're, every year we add, we're growing sections. So we started a couple years, 4 years ago, we really started looking at this. And it's a trend that we see across the district and across the state. There's a declining enrollment. And if you go since COVID and you compare Savannah Classical's growth compared to the local district's growth, we have a positive trend in growth where the district has a negative trend in growth. But that still affects us because, we're in the same community. And so what happens is, one is movement of students. They're the mobility rate of students. And we do not provide transportation, and sometimes that's a burden for families if they move. That we don't provide any transportation to students. We invest in the other things that we just talked about. And then as we grow, go back to 4 years ago, probably 3 years ago, we started adding sections. And so instead of having 2 sections of kindergarten, we have 3. And now we've rolled that up, so we're adding additional teachers next year because as those students matriculate, then we're adding another section. So we've intentionally started growing from the bottom. And we see that demographic of students in lower grades, if they start with us, they tend to stay with us. And so that's been our methodology over the last few years to grow our enrollment, is to focus on building from the bottom and continuing to grow those cohorts. As they roll up, we'll add another cohort. And so that's what's happening. And so that's how we have a healthy wait list of several students. And so we go back to the wait list. And we're doing that as of right now. We're adding more families to offering slots now. We've done that. Our lottery is closed for this year. We've made some offers. Parents take them or they don't, and then we go onto the wait list.
Ms. Hall?
Thank you, Mr. Lawless. We've been talking extensively about the baseline experience for our kids, so it was wonderful to look and see that a rising third grader at your school knows that he or she is going to get to go to the Okefenokee Swamp, and that next year I get to go to Atlanta to the aquarium. This is the very thing that I'm hoping that we will adopt, that children will have these experiences because we intentionally embedded them in the curriculum for that grade level. So very happy to see that, and I imagine without asking you, everything is going well with that. Tell me a little bit about your New York City. That seems to be the most challenging before you leave the country. How is that going?
So we actually had 2 groups with New York City this year. I went as a chaperone on one, and the navigating the city is not the issue. The issue is taking children who have never been on a subway and getting them to learn how to do that and make sure you get all in the same cart, or if you can't, make sure you spread out. That would probably be the biggest challenge we have. And then we have to be very careful where we loosen up and allow children to travel in groups. This is a high school group. And so depending on the year and where we are determines whether we are going to be able to do that. Probably a big highlight is when we go to Canal Street and they get to do some haggling. And they buy some expensive purses and some fancy watches and things like that. And they learn how to haggle and do different things. And so they're getting experience in life as well as some historical moments. The 9/11 site is very impactful and it's overwhelming. And it's a very solemn place. And it's very interesting to see children interact with that exhibit.
Now, is this another non-parent experience?
It is a non-parent experience. And while we're talking about this, I want to go back. I'd be remiss if I say, if it wasn't for the transportation office on some of these trips that are going out of town until we get to these out-of-state ones, we couldn't do them. So we're very thankful for that. Ms. Brown is very helpful. I want to give her a shout out. I send her flowers, things like that. I appreciate the transportation support when we are doing these trips.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Ms. Snowden.
I want you all to know that this is a great board meeting for me. Savannah Classical is in my district. Kudos, wonderful. I am very pleased with this report. So I don't have any questions. I just want to say thank you for what you're doing for our children.
Thank you.
Ms. Grabowski.
Great presentation, as always. Thank you. So while you're on this slide, love the field trips. I think that is such an incredibly valuable. I remember in 5th grade taking the train to DC, and it's an experience I still remember. What's the funding? How does the funding work for all your field trips?
So many of them are at no cost. I'll use the Okefenokee Swamp for example as one that does have a cost. That one, the trip cost of that is about $42 per student, and families pay $20.
Wow.
Then when we have the Washington, D.C. trip, I think that trip is about $1,100 per student, and I think families pay $100 or $200. The trip to England is about $5,500 per student, and families. And the first time we did that, the families didn't pay anything. They paid a deposit they could get back. Now families are paying $800 towards that. That one trip, we have a separate foundation, the Savannah Classical Academy Foundation, that raises funds to help us. The Savannah Classical Academy Foundation raises funds, and they contribute $1,000 per senior to that trip. And then all of the things, if a parent is not giving a nominal cost, we believe that families should give a nominal cost or no cost, depending on what it is. And we will help those if we know we need to help them. We fund it out of our school operational budget.
Okay, so the balance of the funding comes from your school operation budget.
It does. The
Okay.
only funding we get outside of any parent payment in the school budget is the one trip to the senior trip.
The senior trip, okay. And a couple other questions. Your RFP for school nutrition, with that, are you looking also to, for local vendors or local produce providers as a part of that?
Yeah, the food service management company, that's what they're called.
Mm-hmm.
The food service management company, as part of the RFP, that they have to use the USD requirements of Grow Local, and any of our local commodities, like whatever we're allocated for a commodity, then they're responsible for making sure they use that to accommodate the menu that we have, and then any local sources, they have to use those as well.
Okay. My son sent me, who's in high school, sent me a reel about the Texas Department of Agriculture and their partnership. I don't know, Dr. Watts, if you know about this, but their partnership with school districts to really link the farmers to schools to really maximize. Anyways, anywhere we can look at those opportunities, just a great thing to do. And then last question, I noticed your Leader in Me program, which you've talked to us about before. And I think, Dr. Taylor, am I correct in remembering that this is one of the ones that we've highlighted as a watch in our ROI for the Leader in Me?
Yes.
So I'm curious why we have it as a watch and it's something that y'all are seeing. So I don't know if there might be, I'm just curious of that.
Remember in our previous conversations, just because something is a watch, that doesn't mean that's something that we're going to eliminate. It could be something that we're watching that we want to scale. And we actually, I don't remember the school, but we just recently had one other school to be added for Leader in Me. I believe it is Gould. Gould Elementary for the upcoming school year will be added as a Leader in Me school. And we currently have 6 schools that are already participating in Leader in Me.
Okay, maybe I'm misunderstanding how we're using watch then, and maybe that's a different sidebar.
It could just be that it's new and we're seeing if it gets traction.
Right.
Okay,
So, yeah.
okay, all right, great.
The state of Georgia allocated $6 million to fund Leader in Me in this session. And so that's how we got in. We were asking to be part of that.
Yeah.
And that's how we got in.
Okay, well, great report. Thanks for all the great work.
Thank you.
I only have one question.
Yes, sir.
What was the theme of your prom?
I'm going to say Anderson because it's a spoof on a very popular show that may not be I might not be able to talk about based on because of the content, but it's a Victorian era high tea society theme is what it was. But our
That may
is
begin with a
Anderson.
B?
Pardon me?
That may begin with a B?
Maybe.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lawless.
Set you up.
All right, next, sorry. Tima.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Here we go.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. My name is Alicia Beck. I am the proud principal of Tybee Island Maritime Academy. As you can see, Mr. Ulrich was supposed to be here, our executive director, but I have jumped in his place this morning because he was not able to be here. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in, and I would like to start with our data. Specifically, I want to look at our student growth, achievement, and some of the strategies that are driving both of those items. The headlines here, and this is our I've broken it down from our elementary and our middle school data, but our headlines here are that we are up from the previous year in content mastery in all areas, and specifically, I'd like to highlight the math growth there with almost 9 points above from the previous year. We have outperformed the district and the state in content mastery and in all areas. However, our overall elementary progress did decrease by 10 points from the previous year. So that's something we're going to be looking at. Another thing that we're going to be looking at that's going to be driving some of our goals for the next school year is some of the areas in growth for our students with disabilities and our students who are economically disadvantaged. They did not quite meet the growth that was anticipated. And next, moving on to middle grades. So again, the big story here is that we have growth in every content area, but what we are very excited about is our growth in science, and we went up 26.08 points. There was a lot of intentional work behind that with our science vertical alignment team. We are a very science-heavy school, which I'll talk a little bit about, but we never felt like our science scores were matching up to the work that we were doing on the island. So what we really wanted to make sure that we were aligning some of the language that we might have for assessments to what students would be asked, and we've seen a really great amount of growth there. And then, of course, our content mastery was way up. Where we see the most acute equity gap is with ELA and our students with disabilities, and this is definitely going to shape our priorities moving into the next school year. And however, overall, we did increase and grow in all areas. And just a quick snapshot, this is actually our spring MAP data. So we do MAP assessments for our K through 8. And we use this just to kind of look ahead and predict how we think our students are going to do on GMAS. And you can see it looks like we're trending in a really positive direction, and we're excited to get those scores back and be able to talk and share all of that information. So how do we do this? We have about 15% of our students who are identified in the EIP or the RAP program. We provide interventions for them through small groups and also reduced class size model in middle school. We also have a fall and spring after-school tutorial where we specifically target students that we know need those extra interventions. And we also have a tech time. This is an acronym within an acronym, TEMA Enhanced Connection Hour. And that's an extra hour in the day where our students might receive remediation services in middle school. Also, sometimes they're just looking at helping our middle schoolers with some of those executive functioning skills. And this is also our opportunity where we look at another enrichment opportunity. For our instructional strategies, we are a place-based learning school, but we couple all of this in our STEAM culture. So we talk about place-based learning, and we know that's our sweet spot. So that's really nested in this whole idea of experiential learning. We have students getting out and working through projects. Our students participate in projects that are semester long or quarter long. And they all have driving questions and driving problem statements that are connected to the world around them and connected to their community, and that keeps them engaged. What we found, the closer we can get to home, the closer we can have students see the impact that they can have in their community, we get higher level of engagement, and students seem to really enjoy it. So we really think our sweet spot is in place-based learning. Part of being a STEAM culture, too, is that we are all designers. Our teachers are designers, and our students are designers. We don't have any canned curriculum that we purchase, with the exception of Wilson Foundations for our K-3. We use that to fill in that puzzle piece of phonics instruction for all of our students. But other than that, we design all of those PBLs alongside our community partners, so they're as authentic as possible. We want learning to be authentic and meaningful for all of our students. And this is our team of design process. And this is actually all of our lesson planning, all of the work that our teachers do goes through this process, and our students also follow this process as they solve problems. Now I want to talk about the learning environment that produces these results. We anchor everything that we do in our mission and vision. A couple highlights this school year. We received the AMLE School of Distinction. That's the Association of Middle Level Education. This was really exciting for us because while the school has been open for 16 years, our middle school still felt like it was in its infancy and had only been open 5 years when we started this process of applying for AMLE. But it was a really great opportunity to look at what we had done in those 5 years, evaluate that, look at our strengths, look at areas that we wanted to grow, and we did receive that distinction, and that was very excited. We are also the only fully STEAM certified K-8 school in the state of Georgia. We are in the process right now of recertification. We actually have our state visit next week for pre-certification. And then we are also an Apple Distinguished School. So we are one-to-one. We have one-to-one iPads for all grade levels. We emphasize creation over consumption with devices, though. We really don't want students to be passive. We look for really quality screen time over quantity. So we choose iPads because it's a great tool for students to be able to share their understanding of what they learn through making music or videos or podcasts. So it's just a great tool for creation. I have one picture here. That's actually our first graders last week. They are celebrating. They went to City Council. It was one of the culminating activities for their PBL, but Tybee has designated this May 1st Horseshoe Crab Day. Our students were very excited about it, and you can see there. And we're going to have to go year over year to make sure we continue that designation. It aligned to the full moon. But students really learned about the migratory habits of those horseshoe crabs and care deeply about them. Recently, our counselor did a lesson with them, and a lot of them stated the thing that they were most proud of was what they have done for horseshoe crabs in our community. So we are very excited about that, and also horseshoe crabs. So this is actually, I have a few slides here that are just some quotes from families and also from our educators. And this is part of a qualitative study that we've been working on with UGA for the last year. And really what we wanted to look at is what is it that we're doing with this experiential approach that's working, and how can we elevate those elements? And so from these interviews, we pulled out things and patterns that we found in those quotes, and we found 7 major themes related to experiential learning. And I'm not going to share all 7 of those with you today, but I do want to make sure that I'm going to highlight 3 of them. And the first one is that education is grounded in community. And this is actually a parent quote. And what this parent said, you can read, is that the whole entire island is their classroom. And that really is true. It's hard to go out on Tybee and not see our students all over the place. We utilize services like the public library. Our students go to the beach every day. They spend time in the marsh. It's not uncommon to see small groups of students going down to collect data, water quality samples, drone footage over the marsh. They are out and about, and they really do see that the island and the community around them is the classroom. We put a lot of trust into our students, and our families put a lot of trust into us to make that culture happen. The other piece here, and again, it's still grounded in community, and I'm going to highlight just that we do trust our kids to go out into the real world. And we also believe, and we hold this true, that kids can do things that really matter. And so we provide opportunities for them in those projects that teachers are continuously developing. We also, at every single one of our projects, we really focus on strong community partnerships. We look for community partnerships that are reciprocal. So what can we give back to the community, and what can some of our community partnerships help support us and help drive that to make our students' learning more authentic and engaging. Another one of those tenets that we believe is very important is our centering young adolescents' needs. Here you can see one of our students, that is Roseate Spoonbill. He became very passionate about that bird. We were one of the first, we actually started the first shorebird festival on Tybee, and that has grown now, and it's part of the Marine Science Center that does that. But we partner with Manomet, another conservation organization, to be able to make those things possible. They've been a great community partner. But what we really want to allow students to be able to do is fail, and that's part of our culture. This is the time in learning that students should be able to feel that struggle, and we should be able to help them get through that. Now, this is our culture for our students, but this is also our culture for our staff. We do provide opportunities for our staff to have that autonomy, to take risk in curriculum and choices that they make in their classroom. And then we reflect on that and collaborate and decide if that's something we want to continue and make it better. Or sometimes it doesn't always work, and that's okay too, because that's part of the learning process. So we want to make that as visible as possible for everybody. And continuing to center young adolescent needs, we also looked at just flexibility, like I just said, and making sure that we're integrating all content areas and what we're learning. And a big piece of that is also sharing. So we have showcases on rotation, really, for having families come in, community partners come in, give feedback to our students, and for them to have a real audience to share. A great example of that was our students going to the Horseshoe Crab Day, and here we have our students actually working with one of our nonprofits, doing some community service. Another thing we talk a lot about is, in order for students to be able to do all of these things, in order to be able to give our teachers all of this autonomy, we have to have structure, and that structure is what allows to have that flexibility. So it's a really interesting balance, but we do really value that teachers should have that autonomy, but we put structures and protocols in place for them to be able to be successful in that. And that's something that we work on and are constantly iterating. And here we have our students. They're actually at the Savannah State Film Lab there, a great film program. And we have our first film festival coming up this month. And just a couple highlights. We are out and about all the time. Flip-flops are on our student supply list, and sunscreen. If it's a beautiful day and you want to teach math on the beach, you can teach math on the beach. Our student here in the bottom right corner, that's actually a field trip that all of our sixth graders take. It's our first big overnight middle school field trip, and we do that in the beginning of sixth grade. There's a lot of science education that happens at the Wausiga 4-H. It's a 3-night overnight. But it's also a lot of team building, because we really wanted to set the stage for our middle schoolers to feel like they were moving into something different, especially for those students who have been with us since they were 5. We wanted to let them know that they're growing up, and this is still a little bit of a promotion to a new phase. And then we have some showcases here. We have our cardboard boat regatta from 3rd grade. We do arts integration. Part of being a STEAM school is we elevate the arts to the same place we elevate all of our academic standards. We hold them to the same rigor. The second picture here is actually one of our students who they studied a local photographer. Then they're doing some marsh photography, and that's actually one of our older middle school students that's helping guide that. Oh, and we were softball state champs this year. Again. And then moving on to our operational. You can see this is our enrollment by grade level, broken down by subgroup. I did give you a little snapshot of our wait list here. This is our wait list at the day that our lottery closes. So that does increase after that. We do continue to add to that wait list, but that over time, that is the snapshot of exactly when lottery has been closed. But we continue to add to that wait list all the way through December. Our average daily attendance, we've had 14 out-of-school suspensions. That has decreased significantly since we've banned our cell phones. We actually did that the year before it became legislation, but it has been still very beneficial. You can see We have a lot that we do to help foster a positive culture. We have a PBS program, we call it Love Your People. We have an Upstanders Club that's actually run by our middle school students, and that's actually in partnership with Front Porch Improv. They're one of our great partners, and they actually come in with all of our students, and they get to practice navigating some of those difficult conversations, conflict resolution, especially some of those things that you might expect if as a project-based school, because it is so collaborative. It's an opportunity for students to understand and learn how to work with each other too, and that oftentimes is the thing that most of the students remember. It's not necessarily the content, but it's remembering how they resolve conflict with each other and how they work through problems and solutions together and collaboratively. We do have high attendance and high student engagement, and that I'd say our engagement and just making sure that every day is a day that students want to come to school is our best attendance strategy. Students want to be there. We don't want them there when they're sick. Sometimes we have to send them home, but it is a good strategy to make sure that what's going on in school is something that students want to participate in. And now we are on to HR and financial management. This is actually a picture of our new teacher orientation. Because we do a lot of project-based learning, we also make sure our PD is focused on that project-based approach. And this is some of our new teachers out on an oyster farm. We do a lot of work with the oyster farm as a growing maritime industry. So Tybee Oyster Company has been a great partnership for us. And we have a lot of oyster projects in addition to horseshoe crabs that our students work on. We actually have added our second leader in residence. So our first leader in residence we added 3 years ago. We often talk about that there's not a pipeline for teacher talent, but we also wanted to look at a pipeline for leadership talent. So we started our leader in residency program 3 years ago. Our leader in residence is now our assistant principal, Ms. Katie Holliday, and we are starting a new leader in residence this coming school year, which we've already hired for, so we're very excited. Also, we are including a new literacy coach this year as well coming up, so we're excited about that. We have completed all of our TEKS and LEAK status. Turnover is really low. That's very indicative of what I believe is a healthy work culture. All right. So for our financial snapshot, we do have over 225 days of cash on hand. We continue to maximize our resources in the best interest of our school community. And then there's a note there about an audit finding. We did tell on ourselves to the auditors about this. Something was not caught related to an acquisition, and we went back to our financial team, legal, and auditors to address the problem, and we've had no problems since then. Related to board governance, we will have 4 members rolling off in June, and we've already selected 4 new members that will begin their onboarding process, and training status has been completed for all of our current board members. So I've provided some next steps and priorities for us into the next school year, which I've already highlighted throughout that for you to review. And if that is all, I'm happy to take any questions.
Everyone start on this end this time.
Thank you. Thank you for a great presentation. I think one of the things that strikes me about both presentations so far this morning is the importance of student independence. I mean, I think that's so important for developing our young people, is giving them opportunities to figure out things on their own, to resolve conflicts, the ability to fail, and learn from that. So I think that's just a great lesson for us all. I am curious on the okay to fail, which I think is great. We're going to be talking about credit recovery later on this afternoon. Do you have a grade recovery system? Can you talk a little bit about your kind of okay to fail culture and how that's actually, I don't know. Anyways, just talk a little bit about that.
Sure. When you say okay to fail, my mind doesn't go to grades.
Right.
It goes to, I think we really try to strive for intrinsic motivation with these kids, and we want them to see that even that struggle is necessary and productive to be a good learner. If it's easy for you, then you're not learning. Mm-hmm. So we don't have any credit recovery programs or anything like that. But we do put a lot of support for students that we see that might be in danger of failing early on. So we start having critical decision meetings early in the year. And then when we see a student might be struggling, they may be placed in either one of those tech time courses. We'll try to get support for after-school tutorial, but we also have a great EIP and REP team that really focus and help those students.
So it's more about early intervention when you see a potential conflict. Okay, great. And then just last point, I'll share that my board gets tired of me hearing. I mean, you talk about going to the beach every day. We can't have all our schools on the beach, but we can have outdoor opportunities for all of our schools. So I'm just going to make that plug again for all of our outdoor classrooms at our schools.
Part of being a STEAM school is we have over 100 educators come visit us every year just to see what we do. And one of the things that I tell them all the time is that you can't necessarily replicate what we do here. We can help. We have a lot of the protocols in place, and we know some of those elements of that recipe, but every school has to make it their own because it's the community around the school that's really going to get students caring about what they're learning about. So really leaning into your community and finding the issues and the problems there has been what's most effective. We happen to be on the beach, but I believe we could do this anywhere.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you.
Ms. Snowden?
I think it was a great report. Thank you. I was very interested in your place-based learning that focuses on projects, design thinking, and creation. And I think that is more of what we need in every learning situation that will help our children buy into their own education. So I think that that is really great.
Ms. Hall?
Thank you for this. Since you're using the theme of real-world experience, I'd like to know what opportunities are there for children and staff of color to be added to your facility. I was happy to see a few children of color in your pictures, but no staff. And I'm just thinking, if they're really getting ready for the real world, we live in a very multicultural, multiracial world.
Absolutely.
So it seems a bit homogenous to see just basically white children there. So I was just wondering if there were any strategies that you're planning to use to broaden the attraction for other children and staff members to join your team.
Sure. I mean, we're constantly talking about diversity and equity. I'd say our population is a reflection of the proximity of the community around us. So that is one constraint that we have. I mean, we do offer buses for any child in Chatham County because we want this to be an opportunity for all students. And I think that's something that we do that goes a long way for ensuring that we have a more diverse population. But the other thing that we also focus on is looking at our instructional resources and looking at our community partnerships and making sure that if we can't impact necessarily the community and our population around us, what we can do is diversify their experiences and the things that we expose them to and ensure that even within our curriculum that we're looking for opportunities to embed diverse professionals and also embed just diversity in our curriculum.
Is there any effort made to visit any of our schools where a program like this could interest parents and, children could be actually made interested in attending your school?
We have not visited any schools. However, we do participate in all of the SCCPS events. We do the Student Expo along with all of the other schools. We participate in we just did the Books, Blanket, and Family Fun. We do try to make sure that we embed ourselves in all of those community events so there is an awareness about us. Every time we do those, I'm always surprised to hear that people have never heard of us still because they're not always out there on the island. So just making sure that we're trying to be part of the school community and raise awareness has been, yes, very important and also intentional.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you for your presentation. No comments at this time.
Thank you.
Dr. Brinkman? Dr. Howard Hall?
Thank you for your presentation. I'm very impressed with your middle school games. Middle school is it's a very tough grade span, and it's a grade span where many of our students in our schools are struggling. May God forever bless a middle school teacher. Both of my children are middle school educators, go figure. But my question is, do you think that this success is attributed to your elementary cohort? Because I look at your wait list, and maybe you can answer this too. Your wait list of last year was, well, this year is 165, and the following year will be 163. Could you break that up by grade span? For example, how many seats are available for your middle school? You don't have to answer now if you don't have the information, as opposed to your elementary, because I'm thinking that your elementary cohort are the same students.
Typically,
For the
they
most
are.
part.
There's a small group of students that we've noticed that transition from 5th grade to 6th grade and leave TEMA. And oftentimes that's a personal choice that families have to make. Sometimes it's related to athletics. If they really want to play football, we partner with football schools for football programs, but we don't have that. So kind of things like that. If they know that they're going to go to a certain school in high school, they might look for a different middle school placement. So I'd say that might just be about maybe 3 to 5 students per year that we lose, and then we do bring those middle schoolers on. I'll say it is a challenge sometimes to have middle schoolers come into our culture and feel as successful because they haven't necessarily experienced everything before that. But we talk about that, and that's something that we're working on, making sure that we have those additional supports for students that transition to this culture a little bit later. It's definitely something we discuss and are mindful of.
Yes, I would love to see the wait list per grade span.
Absolutely.
For how many students
It tends
per
to, so
elementary.
our 6th grade wait list for middle school is the highest, and then usually by 7th and 8th grade, families have made their choices for middle school, so it's usually under 10 for 7th and 8th grade if they've maybe moved here new. But our biggest wait list is always in kindergarten.
I believe it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I do know that there's an African-American art teacher there. I also know that the school is located on Tybee Island. It's located on Tybee Island. And although you do have bus transportation, that is even limited. I understand you almost have to have a lottery for that as well.
There is a separate wait list for our bus lottery.
Correct. So, but one new fact is you guys just bought Thunderbolt Elementary School.
Well, we're very excited about the acquisition of Thunderbolt
Yes.
in July.
So
I'm sorry.
I think you're moving to Thunderbolt, if you guys do move to Thunderbolt, will affect the population, the diversity of the school. I think you guys are doing an amazing job. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hall.
Do you think the Wilmington River will be a good replacement for the Atlantic Ocean in terms of all the activities? I mean, at Thunderbolt, you do have the river right there, which is wonderful, but you don't have the beach and that kind of thing. Will you just use transportation to continue to use Tybee Beach?
I mean, it's access to water. And when we talk about maritime, we're talking about maritime, not just like coastal ecology, but we also talk about maritime industry that we very much value. So I think it's actually going to open up new partnerships that will certainly are exciting for college and career readiness and considering where students can go from high school and beyond and making sure that we're looking at the careers that are in our community that are growing and we're supporting that even for our middle schoolers.
We also have the marshes and all at Savannah State, which will be accessible to you. So hopefully this will be a big enhancement for your program.
Absolutely.
Well, now I do have something to say, Ms. Beck, so thank you for hanging around. Maybe I missed something. Is it 100% you're leaving Tybee?
Nope, it's not.
I didn't think so. Okay, so we're just reading tea leaves that haven't been tossed. Okay, just wanted to, I'm sure somebody's listening out there as a Tybee parent going, oh my gosh, they're leaving Tybee. No, I thought y'all were still in conversation?
We're continuing to move forward with our partnership with Tybee Island and the city of Tybee, and we're also very excited about our work with Thunderbolt.
Yep, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. I do appreciate it. And I appreciate the partnership that we have together. I know we're very thankful for everything that SCCPSS does to support us.
Thank you guys for what you do. Yeah. All right. Next, we have Coastal Empire Montessori. You may start.
Good morning.
Okay.
Good morning, or good afternoon, no, good morning still, I think. It's nice to see everyone, and we're happy to be here to review our 2026 Chevron report and also to share our progress at Coastal Empire Montessori since the last time we were together. I'm Stephanie Babcock, Executive Director, and I have with me Mr. Atlee Fleming Prince, Board Chair, who will wrap us up today. In terms of our Chevron report, we are pleased to tell you that we have continued strong performance in 5 of the 6 domains, all of which measure at the exceeds level. And of course, we continue with our intensive school improvement efforts. And here is some important information in the academic performance domain. As you know, in 2024, for the 2023 test cycle, we were unfortunately identified as a CSI school. Then in 2024, based on the improvements we'd made, we were designated as a CSI progress school. Although we did not have that same degree of progress in 2025, we generally did maintain our 2024 performance, and I want to give you some details about that. Our overall content mastery held steady and actually would have increased were it not for a substantial decrease in science scores, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. Progress remained high, earning us points in this domain. In closing gaps, we have seen both highlights and points to note in our subgroups. And in readiness, the only element that decreased was attendance, with the academic areas improving. To dig into CCRPI a little more, we have, of course, done a deep dive into our 2025 GMAS data in order to plan for this year and to track needed growth. In order to increase our content mastery score in 2026, we identified the focus areas of math and writing, building in school-wide math routines, and frequent writing assessments with both Write Score and using the Godot writing rubric. Given last year's decline, we also targeted upper elementary science instruction with both a teacher change and by ensuring that science did not get completely pushed to the side for math and reading. In addition, our early literacy program is yielding strong results, as will be shown in a few slides. And as those children matriculate through the grades, we're building a stronger and stronger foundation for our ultimate test takers. As we track growth through iReady, I'll show you some of that data in a moment. But we talked a lot last year about moving our students from that level 1 beginning level to level 2. And now, of course, we're moving from level 2 to level 3, which is proficient. We have been keeping a close eye on our subgroups, especially our students with disabilities and our Black student subgroup. And our readiness measure for on-grade level reading will be helped by our literacy program's year-long focus on Tier 2 vocabulary and reading comprehension. Additionally, to address attendance, we have enhanced our attendance review team. We've adopted an attendance recovery program in line with the districts, and our average daily attendance has been hovering around 94.5% to 96%. Continuing on with our school improvement work, I'd like to share some of our critical school improvement initiatives. This is our second year with a principal laser focused on the instructional program. Our second full year with an organizational strategic plan leading us all in the same direction. Our second full year implementing the Georgia Early Literacy Act based on our approved Montessori literacy curriculum supplemental bundle and with the support of a structured literacy coach. Finally, we have invested in several very important strategic partnerships covering standards-based school improvement, strategic plan implementation and monitoring, instructional coaching and capacity building, and then public Montessori execution. Let's take a moment to look at our student population in terms of the academic subgroups that we have. About 45% of our students are served in our Tier 1 program, that is in our general education classrooms where they receive differentiated small group instruction using our Montessori and Georgia Standards of Excellence aligned curriculum. This 45% does include our Tier 1 students, our gifted students, and some of our students with 504 plans. We have 25% of our students being served in Tier 2 of MTSS and another 8% in Tier 3. 21% of our students have IEPs and are provided with specially designed instruction. Given this, of critical importance for our ongoing school improvement efforts is adequate staffing in special education and continued collaboration with our district partners in specialized instruction and MTSS. Now I'd like to share some formative data with you as we await our 2026 GMAS scores. You may remember that our core phonics program, also in use at Charles Ellis Montessori, is the Montessori Reading Acceleration Pathway, and we are approaching the end of cycle 5 for the year. At the end of cycle 4, we had substantial percentages of students in kindergarten through 2nd grade, so from 90 to 100%, showing growth from the screener, which is at the beginning of the year, and many from cycle 3 to cycle 4 as well. Movement from one cycle to another in the program is what closes gaps. Even in 3rd grade, that all-important grade for reading development, you can see students growing, with almost 70% improving from just the last cycle 6 weeks ago. And in terms of iReady data, you can see that the high-quality, structured literacy instruction is bearing fruit on the students' end-of-year testing. Our K through 3rd grade spring iReady reading scores show some fantastic growth, with these students making over 100% progress toward their annual typical growth. Shout out to our 3rd graders and our 3rd grade teachers for their 160% progress. Moving on to end of the year testing in math, we have also seen some awesome growth with this subject at 119% of progress towards their annual typical growth. In addition, almost all of the kindergartners and 1st graders met not only their typical growth, but also their stretch goals. By the way, we don't have iReady data yet for our 4th and 5th graders because we used every moment of instructional time this year prior to the GMAS to work with the curriculum. And unfortunately for them, they'll be doing their EOI testing in the coming days. Finally, I'd like to wrap up by touching on some of our highlights and things to come. We continue to focus on school climate, always working to enhance our explicit school-wide use of our social emotional learning curriculum and consistently tie it to our PBIS system. This work has resulted in a year-to-date 11% decrease in discipline incidents of all types compared to this time last year, with marked decreases in uncivil behavior like defiance and disrespect. We attribute this to our school's full integration of the Nautilus approach this year, which is an alternative approach that, like the Montessori method, is a constructivist as opposed to behaviorist approach. It aims to reconnect the child to their environment, which is more than just their learning environment, it's their school home, circling them back to engage in the work like the inside of a Nautilus shell. With 96% of our students serving instructional staff returning, we are ready for next year with a great deal of momentum to continue our improvement initiatives. We are also planning for growth, adding a new primary classroom and expanding our upper elementary. Our enrollment projection for next school year is 255, which is approximately 45 students more than this year. And the entire school community, from staff to students to families, is very excited to move into our new home. And so now, speaking of that, I will turn it over to Atlee Fleming Prince to wrap it up for us.
Thank you, Ms. Stacy, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Watts, and the board members. The SEMCO board over the past 2 years has implemented a regime of rigorous strategic oversight over our academic domain in particular, of all of Simpson's operations. As this Chevron report and previous one should indicate, Simpson's has had a history of meeting and/or exceeding standards across the spectrum, except for some academic performance challenges. The record will reveal, for example, that we at Simpson's, or SEMCO, have had stellar financial audits and financial stability throughout the years, with no material weaknesses or exceptions cited by independent auditors ever. Nonetheless, as stellar academic performance is our raison d'etre for our mission and our existence, the newly composed board 3 years ago was clear-eyed about the work before us and the tools that we needed to employ to accomplish that critical work. As a reminder to you members who were here on the board 3 years ago, and information to you new members, the first thing that the new composed board did was to commission a deep dive operational assessment into all domains of our operations, with a particular focus on academics and governance. This deep dive into Simpson's operations was conducted by experts from the Georgia Charter School Association and Hive 180 Educational Consultants Incorporated, and was a data-driven and captured input from all of our stakeholders. It produced an extensive volume of informative operational data that we didn't just put in a pretty binder and put on a shelf somewhere. Instead, we dissected it page by page, word by word, with our strategic consultants and stakeholders. This assessment and the subsequent review work by our stakeholders revealed several areas of strength, but also areas of opportunity to be strengthened. This work served as the foundation for the development of our 2025 to 2028 3-year strategic plan that Stephanie just referred to, which we live by daily and that serves as our North Star. To this end, the SEMCO board has intentionally engaged external support to strengthen the implementation of its strategic plan and to build greater coherence between governance, instruction, and accountability systems. Besides a regime of continuous internal performance audits, outcomes focused, this work has included continuous external evaluation by our strategic consultants and our implementation efforts through site visits, classroom walkthroughs, and desk audits, targeted coaching focused on assessment systems and instructional supervision to support equitable student outcomes. The launch of a supercharged, expertly trained, and externally supported Academic Excellence Committee, who fortunately is chaired by one of your former administrators, Dr. Carsadine D. Harris, former assistant principal in many of your schools, and composed by a Georgia State specialist reader, Ms. Frida from Georgia, from the Atlanta area. One of the byproducts of this multi-pronged approach, for example, was the board's adoption of a protective learning time policy. I want this board to know that it should be assured that the SEMCO board is definitely about the work of doing the work that is expected and required of us. That work that we owe to you and the state of Georgia, who have given us a charter contract, and more importantly, to the parents who are entrusting the educational development of the young minds of their most precious possession. I would like to also add that as this year, as we entered into a new phase of renewal, we kind of served as the guinea pig in this new regime. And I would be remiss if I didn't give shout outs to Ms. Sakaria, who's not here, and Dr. Smith here for the work that they did with us and the state in walking through that process. I see the new board member over there mentioned about about the importance of outside learning experiences. As we move to our new facility, hopefully in January of 2027, that one of the things that we are employing is several outside classroom opportunities for our students as well. And I just want to also state that after 2+ years of preparation, that we're on the verge of making that transition finally. That the Savannah Economic Development Authority has agreed to be our conduit issues for our bonds. We have our contractor, we have our architect, we have our financial advisors, and our program managements who have been on board for over 2 years, and we're excited to make that next step. I'll take any questions that you might have at this time.
Anyone? Dr. Howard Hall.
Thank you. I'd just like to say that I did invite Mr. Prince to come out to the Cloverdale neighborhood meetings, and he's been consistent with that because they have many, many questions, and I invited him to come. So just please continue. If you can't make it on the second Tuesday of each month at 6 o'clock, please send someone because there are still a lot of concerns. The school is adjacent to Butler Elementary. Coastal Georgia, who was there prior to you all, didn't have that many students. So now we have 255 students that are anticipated to be enrolled there. So it's going to be more movement of traffic. There's going to be impacts on the traffic flow that the residents are concerned about, and increased vehicle movement. So have you all talked about the logistics of that? Because you have Butler that's adjacent with their car riders and buses and walkers as well, because that's a neighborhood and many students do walk to school. So have you all sat with Butler Elementary to discuss this, or transportation, or just your board to really plan the logistics of moving into that community with that number of students, because the residents are concerned? And as I said before, I appreciate you coming out to be available to answer those questions.
Thank you, and I've seen you there. I tried to attend every monthly meeting, as you know, and I also attend every event that they have in the area as well. So it's critically important for us to be good neighbors and to participate in the harmony of operations in that area. As far as the schedule, we take in at 8:20 in the morning. And so we're on an entirely different time schedule for entering and the end of the day than Butler. So that should be a positive impact right there with regards to the process. We're also very mindful of the additional traffic because our kids come by automobiles. And so in the design format that we have for it, I see the attorney back there, that the Cloverdale will have a separate ingress and egress to their facility. And for the ingress and egress right now that's there that goes to the Cloverdale community on the south side of the building will be where our cars will come in and make the turn. So they will be progressing off of the traffic into that area. But we are very mindful of that. We try to make sure that we're there every time that they meet to establish that. And we have established that relationship even with the gate now that's open so that there's harmony with regards to that process as well.
There's also a daycare center there, Angels Daycare,
I'm
and she
aware.
attends the meeting, so that'll be good collaboration with her as well, because her daycare is located on
It's
on
two
Bear
doors
Lair.
down. I'm familiar
Right.
with it. It's two
Right.
doors down
Yes.
from the school.
I have also started conversations with the Butler principal and started that neighbor and collaborator relationship.
And the staff too, Stephanie and our Director of Operations have also attended several of the meetings. But we make sure that everyone is there all
Yes,
the time.
just keep coming. I appreciate you, listening and coming out, because they were very upset initially. But since you've been coming to the neighborhood meetings, they now understand, so just continue the communication. If you can't make it, maybe you can send someone on your behalf, because there's always a question every month about what's going on, so.
Let me just share, several of their, there's a community of retired teachers and educators and stuff is there, and several of them have already volunteered to be grandparents participants for us. So we work in that program for sure.
Okay. Ms. Grabowski?
Thank you for your presentation. I have a question, I think, for Ms. Stephanie. So I know Montessori is the first name, right? You may have mentioned, talked about this and I missed it, but you had mentioned at the beginning that science was one of the areas that brought down your overall, but I didn't hear you talk about the why or the strategies for addressing that, and I may have just missed it, but can you touch on that quickly?
Sure. I think the why maybe was implied by my comment about the teacher change. I think that there was part of it with an intense focus on math and the continued focus on literacy. I think that we just didn't, and I take full responsibility, not putting it on the teacher, but it was an instructional issue, partly. It was an inequitable, by far, instructional time issue. And it was also a curriculum issue because, as you know, for the Montessori curriculum is incredibly rich in all of the sciences, but often through interdisciplinary learning. And so that was pushed aside for that math and literacy unintentionally. It sort of disappeared and needs to be intentionally put back in. And one of the vehicles that we used to do that, well, there were two main vehicles this year. One is the use of Godot resources. And even though that's not the Montessori curriculum, we have a GSE and Montessori aligned curriculum framework. And so instead of creating a wheel from scratch, we used the standards-based, state-provided science resources that fit in with the curriculum. And the other thing is the revamping of those school curricular frameworks, which have been worked on for 2 years now with the principal, the academic leader, and our public Montessori consultants, so that we have a framework that now, starting on week 1 of the school year, going all the way through week 36, ensures coverage, time to build towards mastery of all of the Georgia standards for kids.
Well, I appreciate that explanation, and it's good to see your math and reading improvement, so look forward to seeing that in science as well. And then one quick question, do your teachers participate in Montessori-specific training?
They do.
Okay.
We have a teacher and a teaching assistant in every classroom who are all Montessori trained or in training, some formally, some informally, some in-house, some through external training programs. And we also have learning cohorts, professional learning cohorts, like the teaching assistants come together under the direction of the academic principal to talk about, their modules or their training. It looks a little different every year. One of the things that we have committed to, though, for next year is to ensure more consistency among the training, because as we have sought to find the secret sauce, chasing that unicorn, the right balance in public Montessori, we don't want our teachers who are either in training or being informally in-house trained to feel like they don't have the capacity to execute a Montessori curriculum framework. Mm-hmm. And we have seen a little bit in pockets, a swing towards a little bit of a swing away from concrete to abstract learning, which we know that concrete and then moving to representational is the absolute foundation of Montessori, and produces the engagement and produces the rigor that we want for our students.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to add just one thing, that in addition to the Montessori consultants, we also have standard-based consultants on board that's there as well, so that there can be an alignment and a proper alignment between the Montessori and the standard-based curriculum, particularly with regards to sequencing and pacing. And I think that was one of the issues with regards that was misaligned at that point that caused that deal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Hall? Oh, okay. Mr. Smith?
Thank you for your presentation. My comment will be more of a comment than a question. I would like to say thank you all for your work, as you have served in the 5th District for many, many years. And I serve as the proud board member of the 5th District. This time next year, you will be moved from the 5th District to the 8th District. And I know that you all will be in good hands. I know that you all will do an amazing...
Oh, my God. I'm waiting for that last part.
There you go. I know that you all will do an amazing job. Every time I've gone to your campus and have toured, it's been a wonderful community and culture. And I know that you're about the business of educating young people. And I know that in this new space, you'll have the opportunity to do that in an even greater work. So I wish you all well in your next endeavors.
Thank you so much.
So I just have a...
You can always come back to District 5.
I just have a clarifying question. So I hate acronyms. The CI, CSI, that. Okay, so you're in your 3rd year of that now?
Yes.
So at the end of this year, there will be a determination?
This one will exit.
Okay, all right, thanks. All right,
Thank you.
thank y'all.
Thank you.
I'm going to just close out of this.
I will now accept a motion to go into executive session, discuss real estate HR.
Second.
All that stuff, yeah. Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye? Wonderful, thank you.
Good to see you.